Ever complain about your 9 to 5? The endless meetings? The passive-aggressive emails? The lukewarm coffee? Well, spare a thought for your ancestors, because while you're probably just dealing with a demanding boss, they were often dealing with, well, let's just say things got a lot more visceral. Today, we're diving deep into the past to unearth the 5 most genuinely, utterly uncomfortable jobs in ancient history. Trust me, you wouldn't last a day. Let's start our journey through ancient discomfort, working our way up to the truly horrifying. Coming in at number 5. At number 5, we have a job that might sound innocuous: laundry. But this wasn't your gentle cycle, fabric softener, and tumble dry. We're talking about the Roman Fullonica worker. Ancient Romans were fastidious about their togas, but soap as we know it didn't exist. Their secret ingredient for dazzling whites? Urine. Yes, you heard that right. Large vats were filled with stale urine, collected from public latrines. The Fullones, or Fullonicas, would then stomp on clothes in this ammonia-rich concoction, sometimes for hours, to loosen dirt and whiten fabrics. Imagine the smell. Imagine the persistent, permeating stench that would cling to you day in and day out. Not exactly a job you'd look forward to after a long commute, is it? Moving to a slightly more macabre territory, at number 4, we have the grave robber's assistant in ancient Egypt. Now, tomb raiding itself was dangerous, but imagine being the assistant. You're not the one getting rich. You're the muscle, the lookout, the one who has to crawl into the tight, claustrophobic spaces, often filled with dust, bats, and the occasional booby trap. Beyond the obvious risks of collapsing tunnels or curses, there was the constant fear of being caught. The penalty for desecrating a tomb was gruesome, often involving impalement or slow execution. And let's not forget the sheer grime, the stale air, and the chilling presence of the dead. All for a fraction of the plunder, and the very real possibility of ending up in an unmarked grave yourself. Sweet dreams. Our next entry at number 3 takes us back to Rome, but this time deep beneath its bustling streets. We're talking about the Cloacarius, the Roman sewer cleaner. Rome's sophisticated sanitation system, the Cloaca Maxima, was an engineering marvel, but it didn't clean itself. These unfortunate souls spent their days wading through literal raw sewage, often in complete darkness, clearing blockages, removing debris, and probably encountering more than their fair share of rats and other creatures. The stench would have been unimaginable, clinging to their clothes and skin. Diseases were rampant, and the risk of gas inhalation or drowning was a constant companion. They were the forgotten heroes, ensuring Rome didn't drown in its own waste, but their daily grind was a suffocating, putrid nightmare. Definitely a job you wouldn't brag about at the Roman equivalent of a dinner party. If you thought Roman sewers were bad, imagine a world before modern plumbing was even a distant dream. At number 2, we have the medieval Gong farmer. In overcrowded medieval towns and cities, homes and castles often had privies, basically a wooden seat over a hole that led to a pit or a chute. These pits would fill up, and it was the unenviable job of the Gong farmer to empty them. Usually working at night to avoid public disgust, they would shovel human waste from these overflowing cesspits into carts, often having to climb down into the putrid depths. The term Gong comes from an old word meaning to go or gone into, referring to the waste. Not only was the smell beyond revolting, but the work was incredibly dangerous. Methane and other toxic gases from the decomposing waste could be deadly, leading to sudden collapses or suffocation. And of course, the risk of disease was astronomical. This wasn't just uncomfortable. It was a constant flirtation with death, all for meager pay. And that, surprisingly, is not our number 1. Finally, we reach the apex of ancient discomfort, a job where every single day could be your last. At number 1, the ancient Roman gladiator. Forget the romanticized Hollywood versions. For the vast majority, this was a life of brutal training, constant fear, and almost certain early death. Most gladiators were slaves, prisoners of war, or condemned criminals. Their job was to entertain the masses by fighting to the death, or at least to severe injury, against other highly skilled combatants, wild animals, or even in naval battles staged in flooded arenas. Their diet was often a gruel like barley, designed to put on weight for protective fat, not for peak performance. Beyond the agony of combat, there was the psychological torment. Every roar of the crowd, every raised thumb, every decision from the emperor could mean the difference between life and a slow, agonizing demise. They lived under the constant shadow of violence, knowing their ultimate purpose was to die for entertainment. If they survived one fight, another, even more brutal, awaited. There was no retirement plan, just more blood, sweat, and screams until the inevitable end. Now, that is uncomfortable. So, the next time you're stuck in traffic, or dealing with a glitchy Wi-Fi connection, take a moment to reflect. At least you're not stomping clothes in urine, crawling into a tomb, wading through ancient sewage, shoveling excrement, or fighting a lion for sport. Maybe, just maybe, your job isn't so bad after all. What do you think was the absolute worst job on our list? Or are there other ancient discomforts you think we missed? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, please like this video and subscribe for more dives into history's most fascinating and unsettling corners. Thanks for watching.